Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Allison Drini. I'm joined by my co-host, Tom Gorman. Tom, how's it going?
I'm good. You like my haircut?
Oh, it does look pretty fly. That's how
You
you
want to hear
always,
a story about it?
that's how you always keep perfect helmet hair, is because you keep your hair cut.
I don't know about that, but I do have a story about my haircut.
Okay.
This is a story about how deep the lizard runs
Oh
in my
no.
body. So I went to get a haircut today, parking, and it's one of those walk-in places where you don't really make an appointment. So I'm walking up to the place across the parking lot, and I see another guy walking towards the same place. And in my head, I'm going, he's going for a haircut. I'm going to have to wait behind him. So I start to add a little bit of distance to my steps, and I realize he's going to beat me unless I run. So I can't do that because that's weird. And I'm looking at this guy. I'm like,
That's
damn, I'm going to have to
weird.
wait behind this guy. Yeah. So then I realize he's actually opening the door directly next to it to the restaurant, and he's reaching for the other door, and he opens it. And I'm like, oh, phew, I don't have to wait behind him. And I look up, and he's completely bald. I was like, I'm such a lizard. I raced a bald man to a barber shop.
A bald. That should be the title of the episode.
As it was happening, I was like, oh no, I'm so impatient.
That's how you know what? That is the sign of a purebred racer, Tom. When you're racing bald people to barbershops, that's how you know.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
Gotta win, gotta win, gotta win, gotta win, gotta win.
Raul in the chat asked, did he have a beard?
Not enough for a barbershop. Although, is that a thing? Do people go to barbershops and just get like the amount of facial hair you and I
Yeah.
have or less?
No. Like full on beard. Like they got to shape it, right? So like that
No,
would be
he
hard
had,
to do by yourself.
yeah, I don't, he definitely had less facial hair than you and I. It's a me problem. I'm just a broken person.
Ducky says, so you loved his lack of hair and hoped he lost.
Exactly. Bald people, you losers.
Oh,
You're just bald. No, sorry. You're not bald.
Tom,
That
tread
was
carefully.
so mean. I'm
Tread
so
carefully.
sorry.
I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm guessing at least half of adult men are balding in some capacity.
No, I love their hair too.
This is going to be like another Tom ripped on truckers episode.
Yeah.
So
Oops.
if you're upset at the comments just made by Tom O'Gorman, also at Tomo Racing 94 on Instagram. I don't know what your Instagram handle is.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Just Tomo Racing, but
Oh, okay. You'll
you
find
could,
it.
yeah, send the hate my way.
Yep. Or you can join our Discord. Links in the description, and that's how you would join and send us questions or call us out. Tom, we have 390 people in the Discord.
Wow.
That's kind of crazy.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And we probably hear from dozens of them a week. Like it's active. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to see pictures of people at their events and commenting about stuff they heard on the podcast and pointing it out.
But interacting with each other, like I have to like scroll through and like catch up.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Fun. So
all right.
Do you
Enough
want
about my hair. How was your week?
Well, let's touch on something we wanted to talk about from the last episode that we kind of just like sped over.
Guys, we talked about what makes a good event and we completely forgot to talk about value and cost and money. Oops.
So yeah, so there was I'm trying to find the one comment where that was a discussion on your post where you're talking about it.
It was Cody Smith. He commented value. The thing I look for is value. Cost versus seat time makes it worth the expense. Friendly and fun atmosphere makes it worth the time. So if you're making it worth the expense and worth the time, the value's there.
So
That's a great point.
Yeah, it is. But I think that value means something different to every single person.
It does. That's what's tough.
That's like if you were like throwing an event, like how do you create the most amount of value for like the most amount of people? And that's basically like an impossible task. Like for me, the value would be like the amount of like unimpeded laps at like an HPDE. That would be my value, right? I don't care if I get less track time. I just want more unimpeded laps. Does that make sense?
Yeah, from the organizer's perspective, at least in my experience, I would say the only things that an organizer can really control is the quality of the seat time and the quality of the competition. And you're obviously not going out like farming people to be better for competing. You're building the environment for them to compete to make it as good as possible.
Yeah.
Or if you're not competing and you're just doing either autocross runs, it's competing, but it's more like a track day format. And then track day stuff, as long as the seat time value is high, people are going to be happy. So if you're one of these track day organizations, to call people out, not by name, but if you're putting 40 plus cars on a track for an HPDE session, you're ripping every single one of them off. That's terrible unless you're supervising it and holding everybody accountable to like such an extreme, or if you're on like a 6 mile track somewhere. But for a standard, 1.5 to 3 mile track, 40 cars doesn't fit. That's an example of like a bad quality leading to bad value thing
Like
versus
I shouldn't be catching people like when I do a slow out lap and then they're still trickling out of the pits. I shouldn't catch somebody on my first flying lap.
or if the circumstances are such that you have to have that many cars on track, you have to be so diligent about supervising and accountability that like people can't be messing up. They can't be missing point buys. They can't be going off track. They can't be losing control because that's like just way. I have a little anecdote from the kart track. Can I tell it?
Yeah, sure.
We always ran 10 carts, but we had 20. So we would do like 10 to 10 to 10 to 10 back and forth. That was how we managed it. But there were times where we would put an 11th or 12th cart out, usually for competition events, but sometimes just because it fit the schedule or the circumstance, whatever. And it didn't necessarily happen because there were so many carts on track at the same place, like all 11 in the same place. But for some reason, it was statistically way higher that we would have incidents starting with that 11th cart on track, just because of the saturation starts to, in my opinion, I believe, exponentially become a bigger problem when you have a limited space. Go
So
ahead.
when I was coaching at VAR a couple weeks ago, the track day organization that was there, they had 30-minute sessions and they had like a lot of cars in the sessions, and it was really tough to get like a clean lap unless it was at the end of the day when everyone else is like spent, and then you're like, cool, I can finally go on the racetrack, right?
Yeah, right.
Um, so getting a clean lap was tough. Why not just do like half, like cut, like instead of 3 groups, have 6 groups and then just have 15-minute sessions? Because to me, for me, my purposes for driving around on a racetrack, that would be way better for me because then I get way higher of a chance of unimpeded laps. I don't
Yep.
need 30 minutes to just circle, but some other people, they might need, they might want, they like the points by whatever, like clear, not clear laps. They're just, they don't even have a lap timer in the car. They're just driving around, right? Like that 30 minutes in a row. Oh my goodness. That feels like the greatest deal ever. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's different. It's different per person. So I think you have to understand like the group that you've gathered, and then understand what their value is. Or probably the more repeatable thing is to build the thing that you wish existed and hope there's a lot of people like you.
Exactly. I love that there are so many different organizations that do different things. Uh, we didn't get a lot of debate about what makes good seat time from that comment. We just completely forgot, or what makes high value. We just kind of forgot to talk about cost or value or anything like that.
Well,
Um,
I was
there were
reading
some
that and
comments
I
about like
wanted to
traveling costs and
I
go
was
ahead.
reading that and I wanted to like start that conversation in there. I was like, you know what? We'll have that on the podcast. But in terms of like traveling costs and stuff like that, is that calculated into the value?
Um, I think that that's for a person that's kind of stuck in the limbo of like, do I want to start traveling to bigger events, more events? My friends are going to more events, some are further away, or do I go to the autocross that's right down the street instead, or do I go to the track day at Mid Ohio instead of Road Atlanta?
Yeah.
So I don't know
Because
I mean, going to the event is a fixed cost until you hit that point where your your ambition or your friend group or whatever is causing you to want to go bigger. Does that make sense?
yeah, I always like the travel. Like, yeah, it like that does add to the cost, but like I'm because I was thinking of it more of like from the event organizer perspective. Like, if they are throwing an event that is worth that extra travel time, then like yeah, that's like inherent, like like, and you're willing to travel to it, then that has nothing to do with like the cost of the event. I would think. Am I reading the comment wrong?
No, you're correct. But the fixed cost of going to an event changes depending on what event you go to. So like going to an event will always cost about the same thing unless you want to go really far. So
Yeah.
I think the main comment about travel was like I don't want to keep spending this $1,000 plus a weekend for diesel uh instead of just being able to, you know, go 2 hours away. Oh, sorry, less than an hour away and get, you know, a bunch of runs in an autocross for $45. Because even though the value of the autocross may be a little bit less than the event 2 hours away, the $1,000 you save in diesel offsets the value so much that you don't want to go that far away.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of seeing it. So like if like we've talked about this on the show before, where the autocross event that has a bunch of competition and is on a really good site and they throw really good events, it's 3 hours away and you have a local that's right next to you, but it's actually more value to go to the one that's 3 hours away because you're going to spend your time and money anyways. You might as well go to the one that you'll get more out of.
If your goal is to compete and get better and be around a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah. So, but the from my experience, the racetrack when it comes to like uh, uh like events at racetracks, the racetrack most of the time dictates what the cost is because that's like passed directly onto the entries.
True. Yeah, I think that that's more of a personal thing that I don't know that event organizers can do a whole lot other than not you can only make your event as high value as possible as an organizer. And then as a participant, you can only go to the events that match your criteria. So I guess the main question is you have to really know what you want out of things. Do you want to go, for example, in 2022, we all agreed and we did and went for all 10 grid life events. But that was like crazy. That was a lot of travel and money and time and all this versus like a lot of people don't have that goal. They're going to just go to the local autocrosses in the region that they go to for the whole year, you know. So
Yeah.
you have that's like a self-reflection thing of what's the value I want out of the events that I choose to go to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think
Well, I mean it's different lizards. It's like different varying amounts of lizard. It's like if your ambition is to keep pushing, keep going, then you're gonna have to like spread out and like seek out where the best are competing. If you're perfectly happy with where you're at and you're content with that, then staying in like your local area is perfectly fine.
yep.
So, all right, uh,
Ducky's asked a good question on the same topic for the last thing on
sure.
that. I think is there a track length to number of cars ratio that can be used? Yes, actually, a general one would be like 11 to 12 cars per mile, plus or minus one or two, for non-competition, and then in wheel to wheel, I think they go up to like 30, 30
I think
ish. There's a rough like
35,
for example,
35 per
Lime Rock
mile.
won't go above 35 because it's 1.8 miles or whatever it is. Is it 1.2?
No, it's like 1 point
Lime
1.2, I think.
Lime Rock Park length.
It's actually
1.5 miles.
1.5.
Boom, dude! I got such a random assortment of racetrack facts in my head. I know what towns they're all in. I can pull them up on weather without even looking. Ask me where it is. Ask me where Lime Rock is.
Tom failed geography, but if you asked him where any racetrack is, he doesn't know the capitals. What's the capital of Connecticut, Tom?
I have no idea, but I know that Lime Rock is in Lakeville.
Which is in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or Salisbury, depending on which Google you used. Anyway, how was your week, DJ?
it was
Do anything fun?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think my week. So, when did we record last time? Like Wednesday? Tuesday?
We recorded last. Uh-oh. I don't know.
I think it was Tuesday.
It was a week ago.
Oh, hold on. I'll scroll up. I'll scroll up. When's the last chat happening in this thing? 11/19. Tuesday. Hey. Uh yeah, I did the virtual SCCA runoffs.
Oh, you did? How'd it go? I forgot
Man,
to tune in and watch because you didn't tell us you're doing it.
yeah, I was kind of like just focusing on it.
Got it.
And so the way they did it last year, it was just you could just sign up for the races and top I rating got in. And some membership complained about that. And they're like, what the heck? I can't even race in the thing because like all the aliens are in the top split and I'm not on the stream. The problem is that there was zero communication on how any of it worked. And then all of a sudden it was just like SCCA runoffs week. I didn't see any announcements from the SCCA. I didn't see any like literature from iRacing. It was just I signed on to iRacing and saw that it was in there. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll do that this weekend. And I had a busy week. Didn't really have time to do any races until Friday after work. And so I just hopped in a GT4 race as like practice, and then did another one because I was like, maybe I'll pick a different car. And then I was gonna do a Miata race because I wanted to do the Miata race as well. And then all the servers were gone, and I couldn't do any more races, which you needed to do to qualify to participate in the event. So the only race I got to do was GT4 when historically I've tried to do like all of them back to back to back to back.
Mhm.
So
Bummer.
so yeah, I was planning on doing like cuz it was cool, Tom, you would have loved it. It was literally the moment the race ended, another one started. You could have just raced and raced and raced.
It's in iRacing, right?
Yeah, you would have loved it.
I'm kidding.
It would have
I'm
brought you
kidding.
back.
Uh,
But
I actually just scrolled back. You're right. I don't think SCCA in the last 2 weeks has posted about it.
yeah, there was zero post about it. Like nobody knew it was happening. I like in the YouTube chat, people were like, "Whoa, what is this? I didn't know anything about this." So like, I wonder how many SCCA members were like actually doing the thing because like, it seems like a lot of people didn't know it was happening, and the only reason I knew it was happening is because I race almost every single day, right? So
Yeah.
like I saw it in the hopper and went, "Oh, that would be something I do this weekend." And I didn't quite understand when those servers were going to get turned off. I thought, "Oh, I can do the rest of the races tomorrow morning before the thing." Cuz like the way it works is you do a race and then you get like quote unquote championship points, and then it's the top 40 points in that like championship. Like they get first dibs on like the entry of the race. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah, so you do a race, like if you win it, you get like a bunch of championship points. The amount of points you get is dependent on like how strong the field was in the race. But generally, if you like placed well in one race, then you were like entered to like participate in like the broadcasted split, right? That's kind of how that
Sure.
that's kind of how that worked.
So you were in that split?
I was in the well, yeah, I was in the broadcasted GT4 split, but I was planning on doing like more races. I was going to do the USF 2000 race, the Miata race, and then I was going to tour around a little bit in the Renault because I thought that would be good for the memes. But it's just like this slow front wheel drive car that I thought would just be kind of dumb to push people around in. And
We hate those.
no, that's no.
It's a very terrible driving car.
It drives nothing like a front wheel drive car in iRacing. So um,
We gotta get on some sort of consulting gig with iRacing and fix front wheel drive cars.
I
There's no reason for them to all be exclusively terrible.
There's mods in Assetto Corsa that have it like perfect, like that EG
Yeah.
Civic mod. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yep.
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 That I've never driven a car in a sim front wheel drive that drives as perfect to a front wheel drive car as that one. All the
Yeah.
rest of them don't really feel like front wheel drivey.
I'm sure someone who understands programming and video game modeling or physics modeling would understand this better. But for some reason, it seems like games can't get front and rear wheel drive correct. Like they either get one right or the other one right. And iRacing is definitely not front wheel drive. But like, do Forza 4 had front wheel drive correct? Gran Turismo 6 had front wheel drive pretty good.
Forza did
Assetto Corsa's
yeah,
got aspects of front wheel drive that's pretty good.
Forza
Like
did
to the
do
point that front wheel
drive.
drive is like the meta in some of those console games.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. I know in iRacing there's a theory, right, that it's because they just moved the front axle or the rear axle of something to the front and it doesn't behave correctly.
I
You know what I'm talking about?
no, I don't know that theory, but it's
Okay, then I won't spread the rumor.
the problem is like the moment you get in throttle and iRacing, the rear just like smushes into the ground and it's done. But like in actuality, in a front wheel drive car, like it skates, it still has momentum from like the pivot that you threw it in, and then the other thing that it does is like you'll go to pivot and then the rear will like stop. Like it will be mid pivot, it will stop and then it will take the front tires with it. And you're like, what is it? What are we doing here? Like a pivot doesn't turn
Yeah.
into a flat slide unless like you like open the wheel into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very
It's
weird.
it's pretty bad.
So
When the TCR came out, I was racing that Audi at the time still, and I told some of our friends that work there, it's like, "If you don't have anybody consulting for that, like, I'll do it for free because that car's terrible."
yeah, and it should be really rowdy and fun.
Yeah.
So
Oh, well.
anyways, so all I got to do was a GT4 race. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just focus on that. So I put a quite a decent amount of practice into it. I like tried a bunch of different cars. I was trying to figure out what would be best for road. America. I came down to either the Cayman or the McLaren, but the McLaren was going to race better. And I could put down a faster quality lap in the McLaren. So I was like, okay, that means McLaren. Unless unless I was the only McLaren, because the Cayman was going to be faster at the end of the race. But just from looking at the results, it looks like everyone was in McLaren. So I'm like, cool, all right. Well, I'm not going to be in a Cayman because I'll get like 10th and then be the fastest like at the end of the race, which wouldn't do me any good because I still have to pass 9 people, right?
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, so I qualified. I made a tiny mistake in the last corner and it cost me a 10th. And I missed out on pole position by 700ths. I was like, oh my
Ah.
God. And I was like, okay, well, it's second. And there's a thing about in iRacing, because you don't really go on the green flag. It's gonna you got kind of go on the leader. And if you're second place, you just kind of get screwed over. So
Yep, you wanna be 1st or 3rd.
first or third, yep. So I was like fourth or fifth going into turn one. By turn three at Road America, I was back into third, at least. And then somebody missed the braking zone into turn 5, and I had to like open up the wheel a lot to give them space not to murder me. And so now I'm like 2 seconds back from third. And so I spent the next 15 minutes, it's a 35-minute race. I spent the next 15, maybe 20 minutes getting back to third place. So like I was feeling good. I'm like, I'm the fastest car on this track right now. Like I can win this thing. I still had like 15 minutes left. And then we came up on a lap traffic and he got perfectly out of the way for first and second and then completely screwed over my race and I like fell back again.
Uh,
So and we know who
Bud.
I'm not going to call him out in the podcast, but he's somebody that people
Don't we all know
know.
this person?
We know this person.
Oh, crap. I gotta go look it up after this.
So he knows I'm not happy with him. I literally came over the mic and went, so and so, you're completely effing me over. And then he said sorry and then immediately got out of my way. But it's like, dude, like what? Come on. Like
Yeah.
he knew we were there. Just like what happened is I was like probably like a half second to 7/10 behind. It was like the lap where the draft really started to kick in. And it's like I wasn't gonna have to try so hard to like be there. Because I was putting in like quality laps for like 15 minutes. I had my heart rate monitor on, and my heart rate was 170 BPM. Like I was freaking locked in, Tom. Like there was like I was like mouth breathing. I was drooling on myself. Like I was locked in trying to catch them again, and then yeah, I lost to like a second and a half, and then I spent the next 10, 15 minutes like chasing him down again, and I was like right behind him when we went across the finish line for the checkered. So it happened from that little mistake in quali. Because if I was first, I would have started the race, and I was the fastest person on track. I would have just controlled the race, and because the rest of my race was pretty flawless. I didn't have any mistakes. Like I was driving exceptionally well. Like I was like really on it, and yeah, just one little mistake, kind of just I was a tenth too slow, Tom. Those like tiny little margins like matter so much when you're trying to win something.
Yep. But in a way, you did kinda get the full club racing experience.
I did. Damn it. But it was just frustrating.
I say that Yeah, 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 that sucks. Bummer.
I,
Did you
I
get some good airtime?
no, not really, because it was just because second place. So it was me in first place. I was like a half a tenth, not a half a tenth, half. No, it was like I was like 300ths or whatever, like behind first place. And then
Yeah.
and then second place was like 3 tenths behind us. So second place was just fast enough to hang in the draft of first place, but not fast enough to ever fight them. It was like on the verge of losing the draft the entire time. And then like first place would make a little mistake and then he would be back. And it's like he was like just barely losing them the whole time. So there wasn't a lot of coverage. And I was kind of in a no man's land because I was faster than fourth. And I was like constantly just trying to catch up. Toward the end of the race with like 4 minutes to go, they put the camera on my car and you'll see like dude, I'm telling you, the lap was lights out. Like I'm using like 2 inches of grass on every entry, like apex, exit. Like it's like you literally like the pivots are good. Like when I was watching,
Mhm.
I was like, damn, I'm driving the hell out of that car.
I look
I
good.
look pretty good right now. Like, and you see the gap in
Yep.
front like closing a little bit, but it just quite wasn't enough. So
Yep.
but yeah, I didn't even it's not like I even got like a bunch of airtime. It was and also I don't think the commentators, they weren't SCCA commentators, so they're just like they knew that I raced real life. They're like, "Oh, a real life racer, DJ
Oh,
Alessandrini." So like I'm not entirely sure who they were, but they knew they knew me.
I know who one of them is. He used to run some IMSA stuff and now runs like a sim league for, I don't know if it's for Ford Performance, but I know it's affiliated with Roush,
Oh,
and I don't know who the other commentator was.
gotcha. Well, that's cool. It must be the
Yeah,
guy that was talking about racing Spec Miatas like back in the day and stuff like that. Because I was watching the
yeah,
Miata
maybe.
race and he referred to like Spec Miata a bunch. Uh,
But hey, don't forget, you're somebody. That guy knew who you were. Real life racer, DJ Alessandrini.
Look at me, woo!
I was on the cover of a magazine.
Oh yeah, that's maybe the song. Or they had like SCCA people like giving them a like, oh, we know that person, that person.
I kind of doubt that they knew it was happening if they didn't post about
They knew
it.
they knew all the SCCA people that I recognized.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to ask who like supervises any of the sim racing. It should be you. They should put you on an independent contract and have you run sim races for them.
so when the SCCA had their last marketing manager, I offered, and honestly, I would have done it for. I'm not gonna say that. I will do it for money.
For
We're,
your rate.
I'm getting better at this, Tom. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it would be worth it because I would have known that the communication is important so people know what to do and then explain how the super sessions work so it's not confusing and like really try to cuz like I think it's such a great thing that the SCCA does a virtual runoffs. Like I think that's so cool. And it's like an
Mhm.
official iRacing like server thing. It's like a it should be a big event. It should be like a celebration of SCCA on iRacing. And instead, it's
Mhm.
always people going like, "Oh, I didn't even know this happened." It should be like a coming together of the community to like root on their favorite like fellow SCCAers when they don't even have like a sim rig. Like, come on, root for your SCCAers taking on the Europeans because that's what it turns into. But like,
Right, right.
yeah, but like so. I don't know. I feel like every year the ball kind of gets dropped a little bit, and I hope they keep doing it. And I just wish, like, look, guys, if there's anybody listening to that, please just ask for my help. Like, I want to help you. I want it to be like a celebration of SCCA and iRacing and where that Venn diagram meets.
If that's not the closing statement to a uh, good job interview, I don't know what is. Somebody
So
call this man. I I thought of just thought of a question that I'd never thought to ask you because I feel pretty removed from sim racing right now. But in my perspective of sim racing, because we've passed the COVID age of where we had to sim race to get racing, to then where a lot of people still only were doing that, to then people getting back to somewhat normal. Now that we're like what 4 years into that, like getting back to normal, quote unquote, do you still feel like sim racing has the energy around it that it did in like 2020 and 2021?
so it
Or
doesn't
like do people have the bandwidth for sim racing like they used to? Or does it need to shrink a little bit so that it doesn't
I think it's
uh
it
take up too much space in a space where there's not enough energy? Go
I
ahead.
think like COVID was like peak people who like race real life are also doing sim racing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that I'm running into that are like really quick on the sim, that's all they've ever done. And it didn't used to be this like saturated. And I think like post COVID, I think sim racing kind of got really popular with
Oh yeah.
like gamers. Um and not necessarily just racers. Like forever iRacing has been a terrible video game, but it's been a wonderful tool. So like if you're racing in real life, then like the how obtuse some of the stuff is in iRacing, like the just there's a lot to it, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense. And you
Yeah.
like there's a reason why
No
like
pause.
yeah, there's no pause button and it's like everything. It's like think of like some like obscure program that you use at work, but like you were trained on it. It's like that, but it launches your video game thing for your wheel. Like it's very obscure and like the learning curve is very tough. There's a lot of my like coaching and consulting business on sim racing is just helping people operate the simulator. So
Mhm.
like that's a huge part of it, and it's getting better over time, but it's still a just a very difficult thing to use, like editing INI files to like get the thing to do what you want. Uh, your telemetry folder will fill up, and all of a sudden you don't have room on your C drive to like download the new car that came out, and your computer's running like weird because you're like, wait, I have to empty a folder of my telemetry? That doesn't make any sense. Like, there's just a bunch of like weird, obscure stuff that like normal video games don't do. So that's why like I don't think it was capturing a lot of gamers. But I think with the COVID and all the spotlight that sim racing received, you're smiling at me. I said something weird.
I like the way you said the COVID.
The COVID, the COVID sim racing boom. My brain
Yeah, I
cut
know.
off
I
my
know.
thoughts. Yeah. Uh, I think it put a spotlight on sim racing like it's never seen before. Like that was so cool. That was such a wild time to be good at sim racing. It was like a huge broadcasted race like every night of the week. And it was like I would finish one race and start practicing for the race that was tomorrow. And then I would get on
Guys,
tomorrow, do that race, and then rinse and repeat. And it was just like that was such a cool time to be good at sim racing.
it was brutal, guys.
It was good.
You're
There's
looking at
nothing
the
else to
bookends
do.
of this whole thing on the screen right now or on your podcast audio.
But I
Yeah,
think
that's
all
what I
that
that's
exposure brought in a bunch of gamers into sim
okay.
racing. And they're so good. They're so good at sim racing. Tom, I did a GT3 race yesterday and I was like, I'm just gonna jump in, it's Road America, it'll be fine. Blah 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 whatever. I got eighth out of like 12.
Yeah. I did notice I wish there was like actual data about this because I agree with you that the interest hasn't gone away, but I actually think I see what you mean towards the end of when I was playing iRacing. I felt like it was just all the only people left were like all lizards or extra terrible. They were either brand new or they were all like so good I didn't even want to play with them because like I don't have that effort or energy or interest in practicing that much. And if I just get crashed, I don't want to play. But that's what I was wondering if there's still the demand for that to be like streamed and a coming together and this, that, and the other. Like do we look at that time of sim racing in 2020 and 2021 overly like fondly enough that we think it should still be that way when it kind of can't anymore? Is what I'm basically wondering.
I feel like the casual league that is broadcasted is harder to find. I feel like that used to exist everywhere.
Yeah, you're right.
And like even like some of the leagues that I would participated in for years that would have like a broadcast, like now all of a sudden just like doesn't, because the broadcasters move on and there's not people like taking up they're not like taking up that space. And like it's because the broadcasters got too good. Like they got so good at what they were doing. They were getting value outside of like a casual league because they have so many repetitions and like they're
Yep.
actual pros. And a league with a bunch of like a community is very hard to afford these like professionals, and they're so good, and they've built like like this whole ecosystem of like sim racing broadcasting that is so impenetrable to like be even close to their level. You would have to like try for years to get even remotely as good as them, and you won't, because like they're already gobbling up all like the potential races. So unless you're you want to get into it and you want to start like grinding out like all these little local community leagues, uh yeah, I just think that's been the biggest difference is that you just don't have broadcasters that are willing to broadcast a race for $30 anymore.
Yeah, I mean that guys. Kyle Hire literally has a full time job as the lead presenter for Grid Life and is commentating SRO races aside like the top commentators in the United States right now. Literally because he taught himself how to broadcast iRacing from his college dorm.
Yeah, he did it for
That's
like beer money. He did it
crazy.
for beer money, and now we should have Kyle on the podcast at some point. I think that'd be fun. Um,
That would be fun, actually.
because I think Kyle's story is really cool. And it's like it's so cool, like how sim racing. I don't remember if I mentioned this on the podcast, but I think it's cool that like I learned how to drive on the sim, and then as I got proficient at that, I started coaching for extra money, and then I like went through like trying to figure out how to word things and explain things and like having conversations with people and stuff like that. And I've actually like learned how to coach through the sim as well. Even reading data and understanding what it means, like all that was from the simulator. Uh,
Mhm.
and then you have like people like Kyle who've like learned how to commentate, like to get the reps in on sim. It's just like it's just such a crazy valuable tool that's like relatively new to exist.
Yeah. I remember early on when Grid Life was starting to broadcast and Kyle was starting to commentate, not directing was such a pain in his ass because he knew what he wanted the production to be, but he wasn't in charge of the production and the directing of the cameras anymore
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
was so used to doing all of it and commentating all in real time. And then he's like trying to commentate these races and the director's a little behind him or doing something else or wants something else shown. And Kyle's like, wait, I don't have control over that anymore. I want my iRacing back.
Yeah, yeah, because
So he
Kyle.
like taught them how to direct the races the way he wanted them to, even.
Yep, yep. So because Kyle's like building a story, like he has like something in his brain of like how he's gonna present
Yeah.
this like unfold and he's seen enough races where he's like, I know exactly how this race is gonna play out, so I'm gonna like put in like the foundation for like the climax of this story like here, and then the cameras will miss it, and he's like, ah, dang it, like no, come back, like he was gonna make the
Yeah.
move into 11, like he was baiting him the whole time. I knew the move was coming to 11, and you moved away from it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we should have Kyle on. I think that would be cool because he's went on such such a journey since like becoming basically a motorsports presenter. Like that's his career. He lives in Chicago and it pays his bills.
Yep. That's crazy. Good for him. Uh, I've been doing a little sim racing too,
Yeah.
actually.
Wait, you got to tell me about you and Eric Catil have been talking about something, and I am completely out of the loop. You guys have like
It's the
badges.
sim racing.
You made a team. Like what's going on? Are you starting a gang?
Yeah, a street racing gang.
Uh
We're
oh.
going full delinquent.
Uh oh. They're doing
Uh,
street takeovers. Everyone.
so there's this game called Tokyo Extreme Racer. Uh, and I actually had this game when I was little. I think for either like a week when I rented it, or maybe it was like one of the ones that got to the back of the shelf. But guys, this is the game that formed who Eric Teal is as a person. When you like
What's the
when we
game
talk
called?
about like the games that shaped us, it's called Tokyo Extreme Racer, and there's like 4 or 5 different, at least different ones, like 1, 2, 3, whatever. And the premise of the game is you're a street racer in Tokyo or in in the highways of Japan. So you're racing the real routes on the highways of Japan with simulated traffic, and you can build your cars, and you're street racing in a way that's like a duel, and you start side by side essentially, and the further ahead you get or the further behind you get from the other car, their life bar or your life bar goes away. So it's like a cat and mouse. You're trying to get away and as far ahead as possible as quickly as possible. Uh, so it's a street racing game, but because it's based in a real place, my impression is that it has like this massive cultural impact for the real like Japanese car culture and street scene. So Eric's obsessed with this game. He loves everything about all of them. And I remembered this when I started playing it because he was playing it, reliving it recently on an emulator. Uh, if you don't know what that is somehow, it means you can play old console PlayStation or video games on your computer. Like you can play PlayStation 1 or whatever.
Your
So
your
he sent me the
computer
files and I installed it.
your computer pretends to be a PlayStation, so you can literally play. PlayStation games, or it pretends to be a
Oh, I didn't know
GameCube, or
that.
it pretend it the software emulates the hardware. That's why it's called an emulator. So like
Now I know.
when you're launching a ROM, which is like what the game would be called, you're actually launching the files that would be like when you put a CD in like your PlayStation, that's basically like
Mhm.
the ROMs on that CD. So when you're like launching it in the emulator on your PC, you're like basically like putting the disc in and it's launching that code, and the game thinks that it's launching on a PS1. It literally doesn't know any better.
Didn't know that. So I've never been able to get one working because I didn't know any of that. So Eric sent me the files and he sent me a tutorial to watch that was quick and easy. And I actually got it working. So I started playing this game and it started to come back to me like I remember that this game I've played it. I know I used to own this game or something, but I totally didn't get it. Like I had no idea that your car can overheat. I had no idea how the routes worked. I had no idea how the system like I didn't know you have to flash your headlights to like make the other cars race. So I would just drive around until one of them challenged me because I was too little. I didn't understand it. Fast forward to now, and it's actually super fun because not only do I understand how the game works, but this exact like highway system was remodeled and brought into Assetto Corsa. And like 3 or 4 winters ago, Eric got super into that, and he was playing Assetto Corsa in the highway streets of Japan, and we were all downloading it and playing it and racing around the highway. Uh, and that was another like COVID activity. And now I tried not to like play it too much. I think I've played it for 12 or 14 hours since I put it on the computer, which is kind of a lot, but
You know, like 15 hours ago.
yeah, earlier today when I woke up at 8 a.m. But it's fun. That's my kind of game. I don't need to like be sweaty and lizarding over a game. Guess it's a good thing iRacing's not a game.
Yeah, it's a simulator, Tom.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my sim racing.
Nice. Are you guys gonna do the
Yeah.
Assetto Corsa? What was it called again? Like Shintuku,
Shutoko.
Shutoko.
Yeah, he went to Micro Center this weekend and got his computer upgraded, so he
Oh, he
said it
did.
runs pretty good now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did he go with my advice?
Didn't ask. Not sure.
Okay, because he was asking me like what computer he should get. Oh no, my phone. I
What
said
happened?
something about advice, and it like launched like the AI helper thing,
Oh,
and it said
I don't let her talk to me.
the AI helper thing said some advice. Yes, be patient. That was its advice to me just now. Don't tell me what to do.
That's funny. I'm so what do you oh you do use your phone to talk. I don't
Yeah.
let my phone talk to me. I don't want it talking to me.
Oh, I talk all the time. And then there was a crazy Black Friday deal on like a smartwatch, so I got one of those, and now I talk to my watch too. I just tell it to do stuff.
Cool.
It was funny.
In the future.
Me and Christine were wondering about something, and I have like one of the buttons set to like Google Assistant. So I just like activated Google Assistant, and I just ask it like just the most asinine question, and like there's no way Google knows this, and it just freaking answered it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. I wish I remembered what the question was, but it's gone forever.
That's what I was gonna ask. What was the question?
I
Do
don't
you ask it to do
remember.
like some sort of very complex equation?
I think I was like asking it. Oh, I was asking it something about like the accuracy of its calorie counter, because during my sim race it said I burned like 750 calories, and I was like, I don't know if I burned 750 calories like while doing sim racing. And it just like it just answered it. So it's like it's from anywhere from 100% inaccurate to 50%. So somewhere in that range. So it's so like if I burn 750,
What's the
it
point?
could be 325 calories at most, or it could be way more, or it could be like it's most like so like basically like I'm like okay, I like my heart rate is up, and I am like being physical when I'm using the sim rig, um but I don't think I'm burning 750 calories in like an hour and a half of racing. I don't like
No.
I just don't see that. Like, that's so much physical exertion to like actually burn 750 calories. So
Yeah.
I'm cutting that amount in half and saying that's probably how much I'm actually burning when I'm sim racing.
In how much time? 300 calories in how much time?
Hour and a half.
Oh, hour and a half I could see. We had a STEM group come and do a little bit of a project at the cart track, and part of it was physical activity.
Yeah.
Uh, and they used some. It was pretty cool. They had heart rate sensors and they had all sorts of
Did you have
stuff.
to
They
wear
had
like
it.
a
One
mask?
of them went under your elbow.
Did you have to wear a mask? Because that's the most accurate way to like measure calories burned is by the CO2 you're emitting.
No, it was not a face mask. It was in your armpit. I said elbow. I meant armpit. And they roughly projected that at the pace that like the regulars and the fast drivers were doing, they were burning between 80 and 100 calories in a 8-minute race.
Okay. I would
So I could see
guess.
an hour and a half of like sim racing being 300 calories,
Yeah, I mean you're not like experiencing the G loads and stuff, but like
but it's mental. You know how many calories people burn playing chess, right? Isn't that
yeah,
a
I
lot?
was gonna bring it up. Like Carl Magnuson or whatever has been measured to burn like 3,200 calories in a single day playing chess. Might even be more than that. Somebody look it up. Somebody look up
I looked
how
it
many
up.
calories chess masters burn.
Well, the 100% believable AI overview from Google says chess players can burn a significant number of calories, up to 6,000 per day, averaging approximately 130 calories per hour. Stressful games burn more calories through increased heart rate, breathing rates, elevated blood pressure, muscle contractions before, during, and after. I thought it was going to say moves. It says after major tournaments. I thought it was going to say after major moves. Oh, and he's all
The
sweaty.
muscle contractions.
King.
King t-
What's a chess phrase?
King 6 to King 7. Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
King means checkers. That's checkers
But
shit.
there's a king in chess.
There is a king in chess. Okay,
Uh
so yeah, that's why I would totally believe
okay.
that that sim racing is probably a pretty good workout for like maybe starting at like your what delts and traps,
Like your chest and
arms, maybe a little bit of chest, and then mental.
yep, definitely chest. I get a pump if I have the force feedback on like too too high. So
You do that on purpose for a workout.
I'll just be walking around after and I'm like, whoa. I catch myself in the mirror. I'm like, sim racing. My
You're there
arms.
like the bodybuilders who can like flex their muscles and they like pump up and down their like chest muscles.
Oh, I do that. I'll do that while lapping. You know, like some
Yeah.
drivers, they'll like wiggle their hands to make sure they got it loose. I got the loose hands on the wheel already. What I do is like I like wiggle my boobs when I'm going on the straightaway. I gotta keep the chest
Well,
loose, guys.
guys, it took us however long you've been listening to lose the plot for this particular episode.
We did have a topic. Are we even gonna get to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
uh, that was fun though.
We don't really have a I liked a good giggle.
Well, it's
Last
just
week I cried.
this is gonna come out on Thanksgiving, so we thought we would do like what we're thankful for
Mhm.
2025, like things that we're thankful for. So, would you like me to go first, Tom?
Sure.
All right. Oh, hold on. I was trying to make it smaller so my face wasn't blown out on the stream. It's gonna happen
Since you
anyways.
offered.
All right. First thing I'm thankful for is Christine finishing school. So thankful for that, and I'm thankful for all the hard work that she put in. And yeah, I'm just so proud of Christine for getting through that and it just being done and over with. So that's my first
For
thing.
sure.
What about you, Tom?
Do you guys have a new routine of life yet? Or is it still like, I
Yeah.
don't even know what to do after school?
Well, so I remember Christine was worried that while she was in school that like cuz she would be working during the weekends when she was in school. And I remember her being like a little worried that like I was still going to be just like full gung ho racing, which I am. But that like she wouldn't have like a space in that and then she would just be like stuck at home like all weekend while I'm off like gallivanting with my friends. Um and that hasn't happened and we've actually never spent this much time together like in our 10 and a half years of being in a relationship because she's just been always just so busy with the school and working and other life responsibilities So then now she's has like way more free time than she ever has. So we get to spend a lot more time together.
That's rad.
So
Super cool.
yeah, so that's I mean that's partly why I'm so thankful that she's done with school and we just like get to like progress through life together and just like yeah, just really just get to hang out a bunch. We've been hiking a bunch. I did that. Me and Christine went on 2 hikes this weekend, and it's been awesome. We went on a hike like in the pouring rain because we're like, well, like we're not gonna not go hiking, so we just like went out in the rain, and it was like actually great. It was actually very peaceful, being out in the woods in the rain. So
That is beautiful. Yeah, I love doing that. Um, that's really cool. Good for you guys. Um, my first one is I had the chance to race not one, not two, but three IMSA races this year. And I'm super grateful for that
hell
because
yeah,
I got to be honest, everybody. I don't know if I've ever actually said this on the podcast, but I hit a point after COVID or during COVID after 2020 that I basically was sure that I was never going to pro race again. And I was like, well, that was a good run. The universe didn't have it in it for you. Too bad. Sorry. Figure something else out. And I didn't pursue pro racing anymore. Wasn't making phone calls. I didn't even know you're supposed to make phone calls. Apparently you are.
people are like,
I
I
didn't
wonder
try
why
to do it.
Tom hasn't called me yet.
I I found that out earlier this year. People are like, "Oh yeah, James calling." I think I said that already. Anyway, and when Rockwell reached out to me for like Daytona 2 years ago, and then again last year, no, this year, yeah, 2 years last year, and then this year, and then again for Road Ohio, and then again for Indy. Even though I didn't drive in one of them, and even though we weren't competitive in any of them, I am still like, it blows my mind that I'm one of the very few people that get to go into that arena,
Yeah,
especially since I was for sure that I was never going to go back.
yeah, it
Like
made
I
it
didn't
more
think I
sweet.
never. Yeah, I didn't know how I was gonna do it because I didn't even know how I was gonna do it the first time, but everything fell into place.
Yeah,
And then you're like, "Well, how do I even do this again?" So yeah, I'm super grateful for that, even though I'm not like, getting called for rides now, I still got to be doing it.
yeah. Well, I think if anything, it like it makes you hopeful for like future potential opportunities to come in because you're like, okay, well, like I thought that was done, now it's not. It's like it could be 5 years down the road. Next thing you know, like you get another opportunity to do something even cooler, and maybe this time it is competitive, and it's like the moment where you think like, okay, maybe I'm done. Actually, you're only actually done when you like stop. Like if you just keep
Well,
going,
yeah, that's true. I see what you're saying, but my point is I kinda did that. Like, I was doing a ton of self-reflection during COVID and sitting unemployed for 4 or 5, 6 months going like, "I just don't know what I'm gonna do," 'cause it was my full-time job up to that point, and, uh I decided that I didn't want to play the games of trying to be in pro racing the way that I know how to go about it, which is find rich people, suck up to the right people, hustle for the right jobs that I don't like doing. Uh, those types of things that are like not they're not in a thing that I would wake up and choose to do in my normal daily life. And if it means going back to pro racing, the only way I know how to do it is to try to do a couple of those things. I decided it's okay that I don't do those things. I'm going to pursue other things, and that's when I bought the S2000. Well, that's when I sold the Camaro to buy the S2000. and and yeah, then it took me on that path instead. And despite making that decision, I still got the calls to do it a couple of times, which like never happens to people. So I'm grateful for that.
yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. But what I'm saying is if you stay relevant in the
Yeah,
motorsport
yeah,
space, then like you'll keep getting opportunities. And like whenever that last opportunity comes, whenever that happens, I think it will be because you decided that like being as present in the space just wasn't worth your time because you had other things going on.
yep.
So I look at like Randy Pope's is still getting called to do cool stuff, and it's because he's still relevant. He's still like participating in the
hmm
space.
Yeah, it's a good point. I like the idea of saying relevant doesn't necessarily mean pro racing. That's kind of how I came to that conclusion in the first place. Is like, what do I actually want to be there for? I got to be there in this capacity that was so lightning in a bottle. Do I want to keep chasing? Why are we talking about this so long? We're supposed to just be saying what
No,
we're
no,
grateful for.
it's
But
fine.
yeah, that I I didn't know how to recreate what I had, but I knew that I wanted to keep racing, and I knew that staying relevant was important, and I always wanted to race GLTC. You never know when that phone call might be like, "Hey, you wanna come commentate this race? We respect your opinion." Or, "Hey, you wanna come work this event and you're gonna meet somebody." Like, I love the idea of staying in your passion the way you like to do it will create opportunities as long as you want them to be going, even if it means that you're not necessarily getting the opportunity that 8-year-old you would have thought was the coolest one.
Yeah, but you just say yes to things and just stay relevant.
Mhm. Yep, totally.
That was the thing that I was most afraid of when I first started at Hawk and I was taking a huge pay cut and I couldn't participate in things, is how am I gonna stay relevant? I can't even afford to do anything. Uh,
Mhm.
and then, like, Peter Schnorr reached out and he was like, "Hey, do you wanna co-drive?" And, like, that gave me an opportunity, and one of the things I'm thankful for on my list is Peter Schnorr. I did a lot of reflecting this year of just how fortunate I was that in 2021, after I was a crashed race car, it was 2022, and Peter Schnorr reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to co-drive in autocross?" And at this point, I was like 3 years kind of removed from autocross. Like I didn't really know a whole lot of people because autocross turns over so fast, and I didn't really feel like I was in a space to like really go hunt for co-drives. And Peter reached out to me and like gave me a place to exist in the space and still participate in motorsports, even though I couldn't really afford to do it in
Mhm.
some capacity. And I remember all of 2022, I was just kind of like, I was a little upset that, um, like, I was like, man, I just want to go win like GLTC races. Like, that's where I was. And I was just like, I'm not in a position to do that. There's like a lot of false promises at work and stuff like that. But like reflecting back on it, like, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened if Peter Schnorr didn't reach out to co-drive, because that gave me like an avenue to keep competing and keep like that fire alive to
Mhm.
compete in cars. So I'm thankful to Peter Schnorr and the autocross community as a whole, just for always having a space for me to compete. Literally, no matter what, I'll always have a space to compete because of the autocross community, and I'm very grateful for that.
Autocross is on my list too, for the exact same reason. That's such a perfect point. Have you ever thought about what would happen for like how do you think you would be as a driver if you never started co-driving with Peter? Because I know that you guys influence each other a lot, and I know he's pushed you to be able to help him.
I think I've became a better coach through Peter because especially like especially just the frequency that me and Peter like most of the time when you're coaching somebody like you don't see them every week, right? But me and Peter were seeing each other every week, so we like kept getting to work on like the same things, and maybe I explained it this way and it didn't stick, and then I explained it this way and I just see like a light bulb go off and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to try that on somebody else." And I try it on somebody else and I'm like, "That's how you explain that thing." Like that's the way you explain it, and then people understand that like weird concept, right? So I got to throw like a
Yep.
lot of spaghetti at the wall and kind of see what stuck, right? So
Yep.
in that aspect, it helped me
Dude,
a
and
lot.
that's why Peter's covered in spaghetti?
Peter is the wall. Um, but that helped me a lot. But then also like trying to help Peter and really trying to understand like, okay, why was I faster in that run? And like, cause you look at the data and you're like, you're really trying to like analyze like why was my time better and what is the tangible things that I can explain that will help Peter do that, right? Uh,
Mm.
and being able to just like put those things into words, like cemented those good foundational things in my head. So I feel like I am a better driver because of that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had autocross on my list for the same reason, but not I didn't get there the same way. Uh, I autocrossed a bunch this year, and I'm also super thankful for the opportunity to represent Bridgestone and the fact that they were willing to take a chance on like I'm not a big influencer. I'm not going to be like viral for them probably, but they were invested in having a like an organic grassroots person or a person that's going to be at the events and having their product not just be used but seen. So I'm grateful for that. But that led me to autocrossing a buttload this year. And coming back to autocross after a couple of years made me think about this episode that we did really early on that was called Competing with Your Friends. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
And that conversation came from how complex moving into GLTC was for me, I think. That was the root of like, can we talk about this? Because rewinding a couple years, I transitioned towards the pro racing, and when I transitioned that way, I was working with my friends to do the job, and it didn't really matter what the competitors were doing, like because I was there with my, with my people within the team, whatever. And then stepping out of that back into grid life and competing with people that you know and like, and that you're seeing all the time. After a couple of, after I started to get more competitive, for sure, I noticed the tone shifting just a little bit, and I noticed that competing with your friends is pretty complex. And we call everybody friends at the racetrack, but there's a quickness to that that isn't always true. Um, to the point that by the end of my time racing in GLTC, I wasn't really having that much fun. I didn't feel like a lot of people wanted me to be there. I felt like everybody rolled their eyes every time I did well. All that to say, I came back to autocross this year, and just having everybody feel like they were excited for you all the time and happy to see you there and excited when you do a good job. And I don't know if this is everybody's universal experience. I really hope that it is, and I'm sorry if it isn't. But it reminded me of going into that space of competing with your friends, but it was a way healthier, uh, like happier version of it, which I know sounds hilarious for autocrossers. But it's genuinely the energy I felt was like, wow, everybody's like really happy for each other to be here, and I feel that positive energy when I'm there. Um, so I'm thankful for autocross to let me rediscover that this year after feeling like I lost it a little bit the last couple.
Now,
Where you go to events where you're competing and maybe you don't always feel like super super warm fuzzy happy. Go ahead.
so just to play devil's advocate, if autocross was only one class and you were winning all the time, I bet
That's
people
very
would
true.
stop being so excited that you keep whooping their ass, Tom. I bet some people might go, and then that's when you have to find power in being the villain. I'm telling you, Tom, you got to find power in being the villain because
No.
sometimes you got to show up to a sim league and everyone goes, "Well, not winning tonight," and you just go, "Eh, well, sucks to suck, nerd." Like you have to bring out the villain, Tom. I know you can't be the villain.
I can't fathom that feeling good.
It doesn't feel good. It's like you don't need it to feel good. You don't need your good feelings. Here, let me rephrase this. You don't need your good feelings to come from somebody else. You get your own good feelings from knowing you did a good job.
That is, I believe that that's the healthiest way to do it, and to if you can do that, that's awesome. I
And
I don't know if I'm not.
you take you becoming a villain, quote unquote. I'm exaggerating. But you becoming the quote unquote villain as evidence of a consistent good job. To the point where
I guess.
people are rooting against your success. Think about like if it's like the Yankees, people root against the Yankees or or like Formula 1, like if the same driver over and over and over keeps winning and winning and people start rooting against that person because they want to see somebody else win. When you're in that position and people are rooting against you to win just for a change up, you have to embrace that you're like I'm the king of the hill, like I'm the quote unquote villain, like I'm the final
But why
boss.
why would you want to be in an environment where you're not wanted?
You're only not wanted because of the consistency of your success.
Yeah, but if you're not like, this is what I don't understand. Like, have you ever been in a group of people or in an environment where you're like, why does that person even want to keep coming around? Everybody else treats them like crap, but that person still wants to be in the involved. Or do you know? Is this a bad
So
analogy? Do you know what I'm talking about?
so being treated like crap is one thing, but people rooting against your success is not the same thing.
Mm, I know what you're saying, but it doesn't feel different.
What I'm saying is it should feel different.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I just wanted to shout out that I was grateful for autocross to give me a fresh set of eyes a little bit on that.
I
But
think
you're
if
saying I should talk to my therapist about this instead.
yeah, I'm curious what your therapist thinks about becoming the villain.
I'm also thankful for my therapist and medication because I've been on anti-anxiety medication for about 8 months now. I've been seeing a therapist that whole time. And guys, it is so helpful. So if that feels like something that you've been putting off, do it.
You were you were really anxious for like the first half of the year, Tom.
I don't know whatever anxiety is, dude.
I just wanted to
This is
give you
getting
a
off topic
hug.
so bad.
I was like, come here, just relax, please. But there was like
Guys, it was bad.
there was nothing anybody could do. Like it was your own battle.
If you watch Inside Out 2, another children's movie, as someone who's going through anxiety literally currently, that movie is brutal. But I swear to God, it is exactly what it feels like. Like, oh my God, that movie's wild.
Yeah. I'm glad that
Highly
I'm
recommend.
glad you're doing better. So,
Yeah, me
and
too.
I can tell you are. So, you
Yep.
just went, right?
I just went. I'm thankful for well, we both said we're thankful for autocross. What's your next one?
I am thankful that I got to keep my GLTC streak alive. I have competed in at least one GLTC race every single year. Every single year, GLTC has been a thing. So thank you, Jacob, for letting me drive the C5 Corvette at Carolina Motorsports Park.
Hell yeah. And guys, bidding open for who gets to let DJ have that opportunity next year.
Gotta keep the streak alive, dang it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was super fun. I'm glad I got to do that.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm grateful for Dave Montgomery and his Camaro and all Camaros.
All Camaros.
Well, most of them.
The ones with the V8s in them. Let's be honest. Actually, that
I liked my turbo.
yeah,
I
that
liked my
turbo
turbo
four cylinder is
cylinder
pretty
rental car.
good too. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess all Camaros. What even the Catfish
Bitchin'.
ones, like the 4th gen.
I like those cars. The way they drive is really nice. I
Okay,
think.
I have never driven one, so I'll have to take one for a spin. Guys, we can knock out a 2025 GLTC C4 Corvette or a C4 Camaro. Let's do it.
Fourth gen Camaro. The first ever like real autocross car that I drove, I think. Trying to remember to fact check. This would have been the first like power car that I ever drove. Was it E Street prepared autocross 4th gen Camaro, that catfish body with like the
Yeah.
315 Hoosiers on the CCWs on all four corners,
all
and it's
cut
all
up.
got the spoiler and all.
Yep.
That car was so fun. But that's my memory of it. So maybe I have a little bit of a high bar.
It
for
did look
4th
like it
gen
drove
Camaro.
really well. I remember watching the ESP 4th gen Camaros being driven around. So
I'm not sure that's what speaks for Camaros of that generation the best, but it is a good version of that generation Camaro.
probably. So another thing I'm thankful for is I remember we talked about this last year, and then this year it actually happened. I got to drive fast cars on a racetrack because we talked about it happening, and it just never like really happened. And who opened that door for me is the person who gave me a free race car, Peter Lear. So I'm obviously thankful for all the Peters in my life, including Peter Lear, who invited me to come do one lap with him this year. And I was fully prepared for him to like the way this went down. Because when I picked up the race car from Peter, he had like a Cayman S or whatever as like his track car.
Mhm.
And when he called me and said, "Hey, you want to do one lap with me?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." Like I'm down. Like I was fully prepared just to be like the guy who did the commute. Like I'm just
Yeah.
going to hang out with Peter. I get to learn I get to like get to know Peter better. Like that's super cool. Because I only got to hang out with him like that little bit when he gave me the car, and then like one time at Time Trial Nationals when we all went out to lunch. And that's the only time I've ever gotten to hang out with Peter. So I was like pretty pumped to hang out with Peter more. Right. And
Yeah.
then I was like, "Oh, what do you still have the Cayman?" He goes, "Oh, I have a Cayman." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Like you got a different one?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's a Cayman GT4, which is like that's like one of my like if I for some reason came across a giant bag of money, I think a Cayman GT4 is like one of the cars that I would have." So like that was really exciting. So I went from like slow FRSs and like GLTC speed cars to like Cayman GT4, and it like happened from Peter, and then I got to drive other fast stuff. And then I've been driving 911s, like brand new ones. Um, so it's like escalated so quickly. And in the beginning of the year, wasn't driving anything. End of the year, like literally some of the fastest production cars ever made. So that's kind
Hmm.
of that's like super cool, and I'm grateful for that journey and all the opportunities that I've gotten to drive those super fast things. Like for instance, driving Mike's car at Time Trial Nationals, like that was so fun because like that car is really fast. Even though the aero makes it feel slow, even though it has like 400 something horsepower, but like it's still a really fast car, and I just and there's no way I could do that on my own. So I'm just like super grateful
Yeah.
for all the people that are just letting me drive these super cool cars.
Can you think of one thing that you learned this year in driving faster cars that you either had to like pick up on quick or have realized in hindsight? It's a hard question. I don't know if I could answer that one.
The one thing I will say that I learned about like driving these 200 some $1,000 cars is they're really easy to drive. There's like
Honestly,
like it you look like a hero, but I've driven GLTC cars that are way harder to drive than like an accurately placed and like actually put together like a decently executed lap. Way harder. Like Eric Catil's car is the hardest car to create a lap time out of. Eric is like literally a monster. I think I think if Eric drove an easier car, like he would literally clean up everyone. Um,
it's all that Tokyo Extreme Racer.
it is. It is. It's that lack of iRacing and the more PlayStation 1 video games. Um,
Yep.
but that was one takeaway is that it was easier uh than I thought it would be. Um, Not saying that it's like so easy or anything like that, but
Well,
it's less intimidating than you think it would be.
yeah, that's a great point, especially with the ones that you've been driving. It's a commentary not on like if you buy an expensive car, it's just easy. It's a commentary on good cars are not hard to drive.
Yes. Yes.
Like as a blanket statement, a good car in general shouldn't be hard to drive. There are obviously cars that are meant to be the way they are, and that's why they're hard to drive. But for the most part, like when Colton Wade got his GLTC Corvette and drove it for the first time after driving much more like cobbled together, home built, customized, like make everything fancy and crazy cars, he was like, "Oh my god, this is so easy. This is so easy. I'm so excited. My car is easy to drive. I didn't even know it was supposed to be easy."
When
That's like the same
when
thing.
I didn't know I had broken shocks on the GLTC car and I put MCSs on it, all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I thought this was hard. I thought driving on racetracks was hard." And it turns out like it's way easier than iRacing. So like I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Like this is pretty neat." So,
Yep.
uh yeah, that the fast cars are easier. I will say also it's um the one thing I learned with the faster cars, but I already kind of knew this from iRacing, is that the faster the car is, it's easier to leave time on the table.
Yeah. I would agree. The ceiling is higher, but it's harder to achieve sometimes.
Yep.
Like you pick up bigger chunks of time. I'm trying to think how I would answer that question. I guess the main thing I learned is how slow corners feel when straights are actually fast. But that was like from probably 5 or 6 years of reflection.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have words for that right away. I didn't realize that. I've learned to verbalize that.
I'm not sure if
Like
they
when you're actually doing 150 miles an hour, the corners just feel slower, I think.
so to me like my feeling is it's like the corners feel, and this is probably because it's true, the corners feel the same speed as all the other cars that I would drive on the racetrack.
Well, they are the same speed,
Yeah,
but do they feel the same speed?
they feel the same speed. What
Okay.
what like the way it translates to me is it feels like the straightaways are shorter because they don't
Oh,
last
interesting.
as long. The corners last the same amount of duration of time, basically,
Yeah.
but the straightaways like disappear way quicker.
Sure. It's a better way to think of it. I don't know why I was thinking of it the other way around.
And then the other takeaway is that there's a lot of corners on racetracks that I never thought were corners until you're in a fast car.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, like,
Yep.
like on the front straight, there's a corner right at the start finish line at VAR. I never noticed it before.
Can you imagine it in in Ito's car? Oh,
So,
instead of that Porsche?
dude, Ito would literally turn in from the left side of the racetrack, grab an apex, and the thing was floating all the way to the edge of the racetrack before hitting the brakes for turn one.
Ooh,
Dude.
that sounds really fun. But yeah, that's the kind of like turn you don't think about really.
Yeah. So that's
Like it.
probably those are probably like my takeaways from it. But I think I had like a good foundation of like habits built in to just like be able to just plug and play into a faster car. I don't think there was like a whole
Sure.
lot of other things I had to learn. And really, I think iRacing to that, like basically like how to manipulate the shape of the corner to like maximize power out and stuff like that. If I only ever drove slow cars in real life and then hopped into that, I bet I would have had a lot more things to learn. But because of the flexibility of one autocrossing fast cars and then like sim racing like slow cars and fast cars, and you kind of just understand the fluidity of changing the shape of the corner to maximize whatever platform you're on.
Yep. Um, I only have a couple more. I'm thankful for my patio.
You did take a
My
lot of
patio's
pictures
been
off that
my
patio.
yeah, it's my new little sanctuary, and it's finally getting cold enough that I can't just go sit out there whenever I want.
Oh,
And I'm like, what am I gonna do now? But I've never had a little place that's not inside my apartment that I like to spend time, like in the last 4 apartments I've lived in.
yeah.
Honestly, anywhere I've lived. So it's been nice.
So
I don't know why it's different.
when Tom's house shopping or like shopping for
Not
his
gonna
next
happen.
place when he live where he lives, the patio, it's like a thing that needs to exist on the place you're living.
I think so. And I also used to think I didn't mind cold, but now that it's getting cold and I can't sit outside, a little bit like maybe I don't like cold.
Well, you could put like a like one of those like butane like heater things out there like that they have at restaurants. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I also have to look into whether or not I can set this place on fire and
Mm.
like be held liable. I have to be careful with that.
You could do like a space heater or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
that's probably good.
But yeah, I'm thankful for my patio, and I'm also thankful for music this year. I don't know why, but I love music. I love listening to music all the time. But uh, like the combo of sitting on my patio and just listening to music's phenomenal.
I probably listened to more music than I ever have this year, and I think it's because my dad got me like really nice Sennheiser headphones for Christmas last year. And
Oh
yeah, so
yeah,
I'm thankful for Sennheiser headphones. Like it's just
yeah,
it's like a different experience the music. Like you just hear stuff that you normally wouldn't hear, and it's like you can listen to songs that you've heard before and you just hear something that you've literally never heard in the song before because the clarity didn't exist.
yep.
My real thankful for is I'm thankful for my health. Uh you know,
Oh yeah,
there's been a lot of people in my space this year that like might have a health issue there or here, and it like prevents them from doing the things they want to do. And I had some reflection this year where I was like, you know, I've never I'm knocking on like some serious wood, but I've never had to miss something because I wasn't well.
yeah.
And
Oh, that makes me. Yeah, go ahead.
not everyone gets that luxury. So like I think we should be super thankful that we get to do the things we want to because we're able bodied.
Yeah, that's a good one. I haven't had to think about that one yet, but maybe that is a realization a lot of people hit
Yeah,
in
I
their
would just
30s sometime.
I would see people just not able to do the thing, and you know, it would even be like some coaching clients where it's like they were having like health issues, so like I couldn't coach them, and it's like, oh shoot, dude, like let me know when you're feeling better, and it's like those things happen, and they will happen to us eventually, but like in the moment right now, like we're fine, and it's just like it kind of just reminds you that that the like this vessel that we're living in called our bodies like is just this it's like this one time use thing and like like if when it starts like failing us like there's no like replacement parts.
Single use DJ.
Yeah, it's just a single use DJ and it's like that just that thought like at 36 years old like it kind of starts to hit home a little bit because like this is the only this is all I got. Like I said, there's no
Sure.
replacement parts. And if you think fixing a car is annoying, like wait till you have to fix a body, right? Like that's going to be way worse.
I don't even know what kind of wrenches they make for that.
Not good ones. They have hooks and
No.
stuff.
That reminded me, I don't know why, but I wanted to say rest in peace to Rusty Bell. Do you know who Rusty was? Did you ever meet Rusty?
What he was an
I don't know
autocrosser,
that you
right?
would have. He was a CCA road racer, and he was one of the commentators at Mid Ohio. So ever since I've been 2 years old going to Mid Ohio, I've been listening to that man talk about my favorite thing. And he passed away this week, so I just wanted to say that he was really nice. I liked him a lot.
I remember seeing stuff going around on Facebook about Rusty. So
Yep.
rip Rusty.
Wow. My last one was also not racing related. It was friends and family. I'm on 4 moves in 5 years. I've been through a lot in the last couple of years, and this year I had a little bit of not crazy reflection, but I'm appreciating the people around me more appropriately. Trying to anyway. I'm grateful for. I miss my Wisconsin people. Uh, I'm glad I got to see them in a couple of events this year. My autocross friends that I haven't been seeing a lot. Like I got to see so many people this year. One lap. I'm thankful for Salil and doing one lap. I should say that too. But like, dude, there's so many people, and it makes me really happy to realize how many people are around and how many people are happy you're there and stuff.
Yeah. Uh that was your last one?
Hmm.
So my last one, last two, is
Oh
podcast
yeah, I doubled
listeners.
up. Sorry.
Yeah, it's podcast listeners. We're thankful to you guys because, uh, let's be honest, Tom and I's lizard brain wouldn't be doing this if it was like just our parents listening. Sorry,
We might.
sorry, Dad. I mean, maybe we would. We'd be hanging out anyways, but yeah, it's just like
No.
the interaction and the feedback that we get, and it really does feel like we're making a difference in the motorsports community with getting people's light bulbs to click on, and even outside the motorsports community, it just feels like it's worth it. It just feels like the podcast is putting out the energy that we want, and it feels like it's hitting. And so like the feedback that we get is great, and we're thankful for the feedback. Um, even like the criticism here and there, like we're just trying to do our best and be our best uh, at all times.
Amen. Thankful for y'all.
And then my very last thankful for is I'm thankful for my podcast co-host Tom McGorman.
Oh my God.
I am.
It's getting deep in here.
You're so
Oh,
creative. You're business savvy, and you're very giving and sharing, and like you just like you'll just share your time. You'll let me come up with like dumb ideas, and you'll entertain them, and like we'll like turn it into a thing, and it's like, and yeah, I'm just thankful that I get to do the podcast with you, Tom.
that means a lot. I'm thankful for you too.
Oh,
Oh, is
guys.
this sappy guys? Oh.
Oh, this happy podcast.
All right, guys. I didn't hear anybody say anything about being thankful for Carlton. What gives? Huh? Tom?
I think it says the silence says it all.
Oh, wow. Okay. You
The
know
only
what,
person I
guys?
can be mean to is Carlton. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Why is that? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. The car guys thing just gets me.
You know what? I want you to think of me the next time you see an open hood and you do feel a little bit of some internal instinct to go look under it. Okay?
Man, Carlton
Okay,
is
sure.
upset. Carlton, you need to find some inner peace.
Kevin called me a car racist. What does that have to do with Carlton?
Yeah, wait, what does that have to do? What even is that?
I don't know what that is either.
But yeah,
I and it's not a funny joke.
But
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Go ahead.
no, that's I think that's basically the show. I don't think there's what are you doing this weekend, Tom?
Uh, guys, this feels so weird to say, but I'm going on a vacation this week to Aruba. Never been on a
Hell
vacation
yeah.
before
Where even
like this.
is
I'm going with my
Aruba?
parents, and we were supposed to go to Ireland as a
Aruba.
family. Oh, it's right off the coast of Venezuela, like directly south of kind of where we are on the equator.
On the
Uh,
equator.
Long story short, we were supposed to go on a family vacation. My brother got married and had a kid, so they can't go anywhere. So my parents said, because you lost out on the vacation we were all supposed to do, let's go somewhere else instead. So we're doing a little, I think it's like a 6-day trip to Aruba for Thanksgiving. I'll tell you how the turkey is down there.
Oh my good, that is such a tiny island, Tom.
It's teeny tiny. What I'm shocked by is, Venezuela's like kind of messed up, right? Like a lot.
Yeah.
Look how close it is to Venezuela. I'm
Is-
surprised it's like
is it influenced by
a tourist
Venezuela at
haven.
all?
No, they're completely unrelated, but I think they're only 17 miles apart or something.
Yeah, you could definitely see Venezuela from Aruba.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing my first beach vacation as an adult, and it'll be fun
I
with
feel
my
like-
parents.
I
I'm
feel
looking
like you're
forward to it.
really gonna enjoy that because you seem like you got some beach energy to you, Tom.
I'm not. Okay. I don't want to like put this out there, but I don't necessarily love beaches. I love lakes. But
Whoa.
I'll give it a shot. I've never done it before, so I don't really know.
So I'm not a beach person at all. I actually hate beaches. It's probably the
hope I
biggest.
don't-
It's the biggest conflict in me and Christine's relationship. Is my
Why don't you like them?
I just you get dirty and you're in the sun and like everyone's just like laying around not doing anything and I want to like do stuff.
Okay, I can get that. I think I'm going to be good at vacationing. I just don't know if I'm going to love the beach part.
Okay.
So we'll see. I'll give a full report because why
Yeah.
not? What are you doing this weekend?
I'm going to Road Atlanta. Me and Peter Lear are doing some intel on if Bridgestones are going to last all of one lap. Peter has already driven on the tires, Tom. They work. The car does not go
Cool.
into weird faults, and it does everything it should.
Doesn't drive weird?
I don't know if it drives weird or not. I'll find out. Peter said it was fine,
Cool.
so
That's exciting.
it's probably fine.
Dude, that car is probably going to do like, what do you think it'll do? Like 120, 124,
No, so the
125?
the Porsche factory driver did a 126.2 on Cup 2Rs.
Okay, that's a little slower than I thought.
And there was some. If you watch these Porsche laps, I'm curious how it works for these Porsche laps because if you go on Porsche's YouTube channel, it's some of the laps are like not very good. Not to like be overcritical, but I'm wondering if they get like 2 laps in the car and that's it. Or maybe they like cook the tires and the second lap that wasn't that well executed happened to be their fastest lap. And
Yeah,
then
I don't know.
because the GT3 RS one, that's actually a pretty well executed lap. There's like a couple little bit of margin here and there that like could have like made it a like it could have been like a 125.8 or something like that, I think. But like there's not like gobs of time. But like if you watch the Taycan lap, the dude almost crashes into one, and that's his lap. So I'm like, what? This is like, and they're like listing the lap times and all these things, and I'm like, man, I feel like if you were at the racetrack with Porsche and you had all these Porsche factory drivers, you would like just be pounding laps until you had like the lap.
No, I don't think any. I don't know of anything that works like that I've ever seen.
That's what my lizard brain would want. If I was Porsche, I'm like, I want the optimal lap.
Yeah,
How much money do you need? Write the check.
right. And then you just play the video at whatever speed it takes to make that lap look like.
Well, anytime video is sped up, it's going to be like super obvious.
Right. I'm trying to think back to what I would be more questioning is whether the car was actually factory. Like if it was on factory tires, if it was on factory alignment stuff.
Mm.
Like that's the kind of stuff that I know they get a little weird with on those tests.
Yeah,
Obviously they want to look good.
I don't know. I did like a 36 in a Miata So I'll definitely go faster than that in a
That's why I thought faster because I did a 22 in the Pro Awesome car. That's obviously powerful, but it doesn't handle amazing. But I guess Road Atlanta doesn't need a huge amount of handling.
So the top speed before you hit the brakes into 10, at least with that driver and that tire setup, and it's going to be larger radius or whatever, was 161.
Okay.
So that's pretty quick. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know how Cup 2Rs compare to Bridgestones.
I don't actually know either. I've driven on Cup 2Rs, but I never thought they were any good.
They might be hard. They might be tough to drive on. Maybe that's why there was like some margin left here and there in the lap.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, I can't wait to hear about it. That'll be very cool.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I can't believe I said what I said, and I would say I'm jealous of you still. Cars are so cool. Racing is so cool.
I would rather drive a GT3 RS around Road Atlanta than probably any destination on the planet. Yeah. It literally, it could be like, DJ, you're going to go to Tokyo for a week. I'd be like, I'd rather drive a GT3 RS around Road Atlanta.
Yep.
Can
I go to Suzuka?
Okay, maybe if it's a GT3 RS around some other racetrack, like
yeah, exactly.
But it would have to be like bucket list track that I would have no other way to get to, because Road Atlanta is still, even though like all the laps I've done and all the tracks all over the world in iRacing, Road Atlanta is still one of my favorite racetracks.
Yeah, so good.
So, yeah, I'm super excited for this weekend.
I've just had a complete brain fart. I have nothing to say.
Cool.
Oh no! Hey, listeners, we're very thankful for you. When you're with your people this weekend, I hope. Oh no, I forgot how to say the outro. I love your hair and I hope you win.
Do you want me to just do it again?
Shit, yes. Is this my first ever redo? I'm like
we've done a
Randy
redo
Post
before.
right now.
Oh no. Okay. All right, I'm gonna cue it up again. If you start fumbling, I'm gonna cut your mic and do it myself.
Okay, deal. Guys, we are very grateful for you listening to this podcast. When you're with the people you want to spend this week with, always remember, I love your hair and I hope you win.